I saw the headlights before I heard the engine, and the second that bus turned into my driveway, I knew something bigger than transportation was about to change. This ride humbled me more than losing my license. Because I didn't just climb onto a bus that morning, I climbed into a new version of my life, one where my time wasn't mine anymore. And I wasn't ready. Hey everybody, Bobby here from Blind Inspirations. Welcome back. If you've been following the channel, you know episode 17 was a turning point. That was the one where I gave up my driver's license, and like I said then, it wasn't just practical, it was psychological. Because the moment I handed over that license, one thing became crystal clear. My primary transportation was going to be my wife. Now I'm not helpless. I've got an electric scooter and I've got an e-bike, and those tools have given me real freedom, the kind you feel in your chest when you realize you still have options. But I also realized something else. Options are not the same as a system. In my county here in Florida, paratransit is built for essentials, work, medical appointments, and things that keep you alive and employed. I'm also in vocational rehabilitation services through the Division of Blind Services. And getting to and from work isn't optional. It's part of staying in the fight. And when you live in a world where so many people with low or no vision end up unemployed or underemployed, a service that helps you stay working matters. And that brings us to the first pickup. And that first bus ride was harder than I ever expected. It was still dark out, and I was still trying to live like I was driving. I was going into work early, trying to keep the same normal shift that I had when I still had my car. Then the bus crept down my driveway. My driveway is long, so the light showed up before the sound did. Then the engine. Then that slow crawl down the gravel until it turned. The doors opened. I remember that bluish inside the bus glow. I got on, and my stomach said what my mouth wouldn't say. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I just want to go on my own. As we pulled away, I assumed we'd take my normal route to work. I know this county. I lived here over 30 years and driven damn near every inch of it. Even with limited vision, I can still keep my bearings, especially on roads I've owned in my mind for decades. Then I noticed it. We were going the opposite way from my work. That first day took an hour and a half. When I was still driving, that same trip took about 20 minutes. That was a violent adjustment. And when we finally got there, they pulled right up in front of my work, the last place I wanted that bus to be. I don't even know if anybody saw me get off, but it felt public. It felt exposing. It was humbling, to say the least. After that, my relationship with paratransit wasn't great, because sometimes the bus was late. And that sounds like a small complaint until you live inside it. Late on the way home, I get home late. But late on the pickup in the morning, that makes you late for work. So in that first year, it was rough. I called, I complained a lot because I didn't understand the rules yet. And honestly, I didn't want to understand them. I was almost 60 when I started using this service. I barely ever used a bus in my life. Rural living means you drive. Period. And now I'm sitting there thinking, we're supposed to go left to my work, but we're going right to pick up somebody else. And that moment kept repeating. Not just losing time, losing control, because it wasn't one long ride. It was the feeling of being managed, being scheduled, being told in quiet little ways. Your time isn't yours anymore. And that's what made me mad. Not at the driver, not at the other riders or the people in the office. I was mad at the system, the machine behind the schedule. Because when you're late for work, you just don't lose minutes. You lose money, you lose credibility, and you feel yourself getting managed instead of moving. Early on, when I first started blind therapy, people who'd been living this life longer than me kept saying the same thing. Bobby, you have to slow down. First, I thought they meant physically, walk slower, be careful, but nobody tells you how big that sentence really is. Slow down isn't just your feet, it's your mind, your expectations, your sense of control. By the time I hit that fever pitch with paratransit, I was frustrated all the time. If the bus was late, I was frustrated. If the bus was early, I was frustrated. And I'd be calling back and forth, trying to fix it, trying to make it make sense, trying to get relief from this constant feeling of aggravation. And then, one day, something shifted. I was sitting on the bus. I was tired. Kind of tired where you don't have enough energy to keep fighting reality. I got picked up, and I was the only person on the bus. We drove for a while, and then we stopped somewhere and just sat. After about 15 minutes, the driver looked at me in the mirror and said, "Hey, we're just waiting on a guy to get finished from dialysis." Dialysis, that word hit me like a quiet punch, and I thought, hold on. You're aggravated because you're sitting on a bus, and somewhere out there is a person who has to sit with a machine 2 or 3 times a week just to stay alive, and you're worried about being a little late? While you can still move your arms and legs, still work, still choose, still live? I can't see great, but I'm not totally blind either. So maybe I need to stop gripping the steering wheel of life like I still own the road. And maybe I need some gratitude, more than I need control. And right there, the aggravation slipped off, the madness, the tightness, the constant fight in my chest. It let go. Because when you truly think about somebody else, it's hard to stay selfish. You either lighten your load or it breaks you. And here's the funny part. After that moment, I fell asleep. I woke up maybe 15 minutes later. The bus had lurched forward a little and we were moving again. I looked up and I was still the only person on the bus. They never picked anybody up. Now the old me would have been on the phone. Why did we wait? What happened? Who messed up? But I don't care anymore because I realized something. There are 1,000 things happening in the background that I'll never be aware of. And I don't need to understand all of them to have peace. Sometimes transformation isn't fireworks. Sometimes the heavens don't open up and God doesn't shout down instructions down to you. Sometimes change is subtle, quiet, but it's real. I've changed. I've slowed down. I'm not saying I'm exactly where I want to be yet, but I'm on my way, and that's the difference. So, if you got a nugget of inspiration from this video, please smash that like button. But if you really want to find out what's coming next, hit subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss my next episode. Because here's where I'm at now. The bus can be late. I'm not letting it rush my serenity.